Armand has very turbulent history with Lestat and feelings towards that, and I think a lot of that does bleed through into Claudia and into how he...
A very turbulent history. Man, this is just like the worst breakup in history, right? Like he was with Lestat for like 90 days, maybe. It's like 100 performances, right? That man took 100 years to get over it. Still hadn't. Guess who's back? I think I already did that joke. I won't do that joke again. San Diego Comic-Con just continues to give and give some of the, I hesitate to say smaller outlets because that's not necessarily true, but maybe just some of the smaller teams, I guess. They're putting up their videos a little bit later, or honestly, it's probably smart, as in like there's like a wave of new info and then there's a second wave of info and you can ride on that second wave. Anyway, we've got reaction videos coming for Collider and for CBR, but today I'm going to be reacting to the Interview with the Vampire cast and the executive producers on TV Guide.
Lestat and the spirit of Lestat is about to take over the show.
That's already taken over, Robin.
I mean, right there in the cover image for their video, it shows like Lestat's already taken over the promotion for the show. It is a little sad, I guess, in retrospect, that there wasn't longer for us to just acknowledge and applaud season 2, because season 2 is fantastic, and Jacob, especially, and Delaney need to get their flowers. An aside, I don't mean to leave Asad out.
Claudia, she's really kind of like kept in a cage in a lot of ways, particularly by Armand, and she broke out of the cage that Lestat was sort of keeping her in her mind. But Lestat actually has a certain amount of like respect for how powerful and independent Claudia is, even if she can't necessarily see it.
Oh, I think
it's more of a statement than a question.
I think she feels it inside. But I mean, they had good moments together as well. So I think there is love there. Whether, I think if you ask Claudia that question, it would be shut down completely. But I think they're very similar in a way. So I think they have an understanding with each other. Even though she hates him.
Boy, Delaney gets Claudia very well, I think. I think if you ask Claudia, she'd laugh at that they have anything in common or that there is any love there. But there absolutely is. Somebody on the outside could see that. And I mean, isn't that true of like any abusive relationship, familial relationship?
She sees, herself in him.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of similarities. No, but like this is my opinion. Ask Claudia this, it's a no completely. Right. But yeah, I think, they have a lot of similarities and lots of love, but it's overcast by their hatred for each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they're family.
Yeah.
They are family. And that is a very specific bond,
We are family. God, I love Sam. Yes.
Has crazy relationships with them, and whether these are the people you're stuck with for life, even if you hate them, they're your family. And it's complex, but I think Lestat totally misunderstood Claudia, and he undermined her.
Well, that's true. Like, it is complex. You think about it, like, I mean, most of the time, family doesn't literally drag you back home like Lestat apparently did in season 1 to Claudia, but you can't really get rid of them. I mean, like, maybe you can disconnect, maybe you can preserve yourself in that way, but like, they'll always be your family. Bad connections for somebody else will, fall back on you.
And he didn't see how incredible she was until she showed him. Mm-hmm. And I think once he saw that, there was a lot of love and pride. But he is, vengeful, proud, vain, complex monster. You know what I mean? And so it takes a lot for him to kind of come around to it.
That's a great description for Lestat.
But yeah, I think definitely even in the trial, I think he's looking at it going, look at that beautiful creature. Look what I did.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that. Yeah. But he's also like, look, like, that's part, that's my family.
Yeah.
That's my daughter. And I think it's very shocking.
I mean, he defends her at one point I guess that's in the flashbacks that we see in the finale episode where we see what really happened, the behind the scenes when they rehearsed. He it tells them, what are you going to do to keep Claudia down? She's too strong for that. He's proud of her in his own way.
for him when she does look at him in a way that it's returned. I think he'll never get over that. I think it'll be seared into his mind for the rest of his life.
You know, it's interesting because Claudia is Lestat's fledgling and Armand has very turbulent history with Lestat and feelings towards that, and there's, I think, a lot of that does bleed through into Claudia and into how he...
A very turbulent history. Man, this is just like the worst breakup in history, right? Like he was with Lestat for like 90 days, maybe. It's like 100 performances, right? That man took 100 years to get over it. Still hadn't.
Receives Claudia as well. I think there's some respect there as well because of her age and because Armand, the similarities that they have in terms of what it means to be turned so young and go through that. And so he recognizes some of that in Claudia, and I think respects it. But yeah.
Even more so true in the books, but I mean the fact that they've aged them both up here keeps that still, like, relatively speaking, reasonable. Acid's right there 100%. There is that sort of kinship between Armand and Claudia.
The overriding thing is she's in the way of the one thing that makes me happy, and she needs to go.
One of the things the show does so well is that idea of the unreliable narrator. So can you talk about like the complexity of crafting that feeling?
Yeah. It starts with Anne.
Yeah.
Talk about it, you beautiful bastard. I love Roland Jones so much. I am a ride or die for Roland Jones. It starts with Anne. That's one of the reasons why I'm a ride or die for Roland Jones. That's what I want to...
Anne was doing it.
Yep.
And we, probably adrenalized it a little bit. I'm of the opinion that
we probably adrenalized it a little bit. That is such a good way to put it. Such a good way to put it. It's not... Yes.
On the Armand version of events, there was an agenda there, and if he was telling that to somebody else other than Daniel Malloy, that might have been different too. And that there's probably a percentage in my head of what I think Louis got right about Lestat, and I think it's like all of us, how we think of ourselves, how we think of others, and how time plays with that. That was something we were fairly obsessed about for the first 2 seasons.
There's a percentage that Louis got right about Lestat. Yeah, boy, it's going to be so interesting to see him. I mean, look, from that promo that we got of season 3, with him sitting in the chair and everything, showing up for the interview with Daniel, like, he's the brat prince, right? Like, there's a lot that we saw in season 1 that isn't Louis just putting it on.
Going back to Claudia, she's in some ways, even though, yes, like there's so much of Lestat in her and she is very good at being a vampire.
Love that haircut, by the way. Okay, my daughters both had very similar haircuts like 3 or 4 years ago when Raya and the Last Dragon came out. There's a character in that one that they both loved. I think she's technically like the villain, or starts as the villain anyway. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it. Raya and the Last Dragon on Disney+.
In ways that Louis couldn't quite embrace. There is still this very like pure good story at the center with her and Madeleine, and like finally getting somebody.
Madeleine, I've never heard it pronounced that way, but I like it. It's probably more French than Madeline, which is the way that I've been pronouncing it all my life. Madeleine. I like.
To choose her, it's like such a triumphant moment for Claudia.
Yeah, it really is. And filming it felt like that.
One of the best moments of the whole series, honestly. Claudia is my coven.
Well, and I think I was talking with Hannah about it, and I think in a way she could go happy now, because that's like the only thing that she's ever needed to hear. And she is this strong, fierce vampire, but she also looks for validation of her existence in a way, but it's not obvious, it's not overt. It's she's battling with herself. So having someone else reinstate her existence and say that she's the thing that matters right now, I think, she could go happy. Yeah.
That's lovely. And I agree with Delaney 100%. I mean, obviously, Claudia went kicking and screaming in some ways. She went indignantly as far as to not let the theater crowd or the vamps that were judging her get even a moment of satisfaction from her own demise. But yes, she and Madeleine found each other in the end.
I mean, truly, that is at the core of all of the characters, I think, is their battles with themselves and kind of addressing the loneliness of the existence of existing forever, which is certainly a theme that gets explored in The Vampire Lestat, which is the next novel in the series. Yes, imbued.
Okay, I'd seen this image of them all touching the novel, but like, this is the reason that The Vampire Lestat, excuse me, I want to change the name. This is the reason why Interview with the Vampire is going to win awards and Mayfair Witch is unlikely to. This is the reason why more of the book fandom enjoys this series than the other. This is it. They revere the novels.
Yourselves with its power. Wait, tell me about this copy of Vampire Lestat. Is this like one that you've had for a long time, or? Whoa! Okay.
Snapping it back before she can read the notes.
Cool,
I like
cool.
it.
You're just gonna leave that here, right? I think that is one of the strengths, is that the tone of this show just absolutely nails the books. And there's a lot, obviously, that's been changed and updated, but it's very true to the spirit of what these stories are.
It's literally what we keep saying on the show. It's true to the spirit of the novels.
That is the first and foremost thing that is important to me. And anybody that comes into the writer's room is sort of, we're pressed with that. There's like a sort of an empty chair there all the time for Anne, and always go back to Anne.
Yeah.
And like, what's so exciting about this next book is it's so.
That's a lovely thought. He said it before. There's an empty chair always there for Anne. And always go back to Anne.
Wildly different
Very.
than the first book, and there's a swagger to this book that's really we're very excited to get into.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I need to know what's the musical inspiration for the rock star Lestat?
David Bowie,
Oh, obviously.
Mick Jagger,
Run the
Bjork,
list.
Freddie Mercury, Mark Sandman, Franz Liszt, Otis Redding.
Okay, Otis Redding, I hadn't heard in other interviews so far. I hadn't heard that mentioned before. And when I tell you that every time I had a breakup in my 20s, effectively, I would drink Jack Daniels and listen to Otis Redding. I mean, it's absolutely true. Like a lot of sad nights listening to Otis Redding. Anyway.
Moses Sumney, Douglas Dare, Red Cross, Lang Lang, Iggy Pop, St. Vincent, Prince.
Okay, St. Vincent, somebody I've only appreciated recently, but down Prince, of course. Like, we talked about the Prince thing, like, right with the branding.
Florence Welch, Jim Morrison, T-Rex, Gustav Mahler, Brendan Flowers, Fiona Apple.
The two names that I mentioned originally, like the two that I wanted infused, was like Fiona Apple and Robert Plant. I don't know why my mind went blank at Robert Plant, but there you go.
Serge Gainsbourg, Electric Light Orchestra, The Sweet.
ELO is awesome. We saw them at Epcot recently.
Nick Cave, Raleigh Ritchie, Benjamin Clementine,
Nick Cave.
Chapel Rowan, Gustavo Dudamel, David Lee Roth, Ryan Cadner, John Cale, Jeff Magnum, Paul Westerberg, Daniel Hart.
Wow. How did you come up with that list?
Lestat contains legions. That's he is multitudes. I love that he finishes always, by the way, with Daniel Hart, because like Daniel Hart is going to be a giant inspiration and impression, for Lestat, because he's the man orchestrating this all, and like what a fantastic job he's done so far.
He's Lestat.
Yeah.
He's gonna be pinching from
everybody.
just the best and all the
Yeah, that's true.
and
Just
then
really,
beat them.
Yeah, because he's Lestat. Yeah,
He's Lestat.
He's going to be pinching from all the best and then beat them.
he's the best there is. And Armand is now just out there in the world. He's been left behind by Louis, who found out all of his treacherous ways of
Listening to
manipulating.
Lestat's double album as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's going to hate listen so much. He's just going to play it on repeat.
on repeat. See if there's a
See, I told you.
song about him. Which one's about me? Which one's about me?
They're all about you.
The circumstances, right? Interview with the Vampire has been out. It's been
Yep.
unleashed. Consequences for everybody.
Except Claudia, unfortunately, who's no longer.
Why would you say that?
Why
would you say that?
Because
That would be a silly thing to do. I
know.
have Delaney
I know.
Delaney here. Why would I stop writing for Delaney? That seems like a really, really dumb thing to do.
Her spirit comes back around later, so.
I'll talk to you about how we're doing it. But...
Yeah. Right.
What's she gonna write for Delaney? Color me surprised. I really thought that Delaney would go away and maybe be on the Talamasca show for a year or two, and then come back when we get into Queen of the Damned, perhaps, or like following Queen of the Damned. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Like, I mean, you could very much make Claudia one of the reasons why Lestat talks himself into doing the Tale of the Body Thief story down the road.
If you were running this show,
yes,
wouldn't you bring back Delaney?
Immediately.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've given me a lot to ponder. Armand, being sad in the bathtub, listening to Lestat's music, trying to figure out if...
I don't know if it's sad.
More mad.
Yeah.
Like candles lit, bath bombs, the whole 9 yards.
Let's
It's very sad.
I can imagine Armand with a Vampire Lestat tour t-shirt.
Oh, for sure. I think he hates that he does love every aspect of Lestat, but he hates it. He fucking loves it at the same time.
Yeah, I am
Yeah, Armand would have merch.
so looking forward to getting that history in even greater detail.
What's great about this interview is it's all total bullshit because I've barely written anything for this thing. It's all in the brain.
It's all in the brain.
We have a couple things.
Yeah, but not really.
Okay, well, there you go. We were wondering, I had questions about, like, people had asked, like, oh, do you think you wrote the whole... No, he didn't write it, obviously.
There's a little, there's a couple things.
Yeah.
But no.
I mean, stuff's written in that book. And
Well, that's it. Honestly, she
Sneaky.
wrote it. We're here to kind of bring it to life and turn it into a serialized television
yes.
show. Lestat and the spirit of Lestat is about to take over the show.
I think that's
Already taken over, Robin.
It already took over Sam Reed for sure. All right, great interview. Thank you, TV Guide, for that one. Really, really nice. Genuinely, that was one of the better interviews. I think somebody in the YouTube channel mentioned they hope we do the TV Guide and Collider interviews because they thought those were the best ones. The CBR came even after that one, so we'll give them all covered eventually. But I mentioned merch. Armand would have merch. We've got new merch. So the permanent merch store is now open, linked below. And not only do we have the Articulate Coven logo merch, but we also have new merch with more of a brat than Lestat, and my personal favorite, very specific search terms. All right, so those designs all linked below. You can check them out. And until the next video, I have been Joel Sharpton from the Articulate Coven.